In this video, I will be migrating the project to React. Managing the complex components on this site with just vanilla and JavaScript would prove to be a nightmare later on. React components are much easier to maintain and work with. Additionally, they make the codebase much more readable as each components are organized into separate files. Title: Setting up React and GSAP. First, let's get our previous code up and running in React. To use GSAP in React, we need the use GSAP hook. Since GSAP is imperative and React is declarative in approach, we must follow certain rules and perform proper cleanup. Otherwise, it will create all sorts of problems, ranging from performance issues to straight up broken animations. The key concept is to maintain the context of all our tweens and timelines within GSAP's context object. This ensures that GSAP can track everything under the hood effectively. Title: Creating the Blob animation. Let's create our blob animation. First, declare a scope ref using the useRef hook and define the button element as the reference. Then, use the useGSAP hook. Optionally, we can pass a reference as the scope. This ensures that all the selector text like class name, ID or any other selector used in the GSAP related code applies only to descendants of the scope ref. If we don't provide a scope, the animation will target every single element on the page with the specified selector. We really want fine control over which elements are animated to prevent some random elements just dancing around all over the place. So providing a scope is the recommended approach. Next, we use the context method from the GSAP hook to wrap our animation functions. So they can be added to our GSAP's context object. Alternatively, we can also define our animations inside the useGSAP hook to maintain their context. Then we create the two event listeners, the mouse on enter event listener, which would use a from to tween to move the element from y% of 0 to -75, and an on mouse leave listener, which will move the blob to a -150. Lastly, we use gsap's .kill tweens off method to stop the mouse enter tween if it's still running, preventing it from interfering with our animation. With this, our blob animation is ready. Title: Adding the magnet animation. Moving on to the magnet animation, since we are going to use this animation on other elements as well, I am going to create a reusable MagnetHover component. This component will add the magnetic effect to any component wrapped inside it. We will write its logic within the use GSAP hook because we can't directly add event listeners to children prop like we did earlier. So we would need to add them using good old add event listener. First, I will paste our old code here to define the event listeners. If you'd like to know how I created this, you can check out my previous video in this series. The link will be in the comments. Again, we wrap our event listeners within the context method and use add event listener to define them. Lastly, we write cleanup code to remove the event listeners when the component unmounts from the DOM. And with that, our button is now magnetic. Title: Animating the Menu. The last component we are animating today is the menu. There are quite a few elements being animated here, so let's check them out one by one. The most obvious is the menu coming in from the right. Then we have its left edge morphing from a curve to a straight line. The links come in with a slight delay between them. And lastly, the background gets a bit dimmer. Let's tackle the smaller one first to get them out of the way. Start by using auto alpha to hide the menu from the DOM, so the tab doesn't focus the links when the menu is out of page. You can see how pressing tab actually focuses the elements which are not even on the page. So we can prevent that by using auto alpha. On menu open, we set the auto alpha back to 1 with a duration of 0 to have it done instantly, so we don't get jittery animations. Then we fade in the overlay using the auto alpha as well, but this time with a duration. Also give the menu a slide in effect by changing the X% property. Lastly, the links move into the view. Don't forget the stagger to add a slight delay and set the position parameters so all of this happens at the same time. Now we add the morph. You can use GSAP's morph SVG plugin to morph a round SVG into a rectangle. But the plugin is a paid feature and would only work locally or in sandboxes like CodePen, StackBlitz, etc. To use it in production, you would have to buy it. And that's why I'm going to use a couple of divs to recreate this effect. Create a wrapper div with a morphing div inside it. Position the wrapper just to the left of our menu using position absolute and a translate of -100% on the x-axis. Give our morphing edge the same background as our menu. Give it a height of 100% but width of a 700% with a border radius to make it a curved shape. Set the wrapper's overflow to clip, height to 150% and adjust the translate to completely cover the menu's edge. Don't set the width here as we are going to do that in our GSAP code. Back to our GSX file. Create a morph with variable to control the width of the edge. It will be in percentages, so make sure it's not too large. Keep it below 50% for ideal results. By the way, keeping it 100% would make it the same width as our menu, making it very weird. So I'm going to use 30. The reason I specified the width here is because we need to move our menu's total width combined with the extra width of the edge. So we need the variable here for our calculations. Finish the animation code by creating a to-tween to scale the width of the edge wrapper div down to 0 using the scalex property. Remember not to use width, height, left, right, top or bottom for animations. Instead, use transform properties like scale and translate. Set the transform origin to 100% so the width scaling happens at the rightmost side of the edge, which would stick it together with our menu. Now, assign the width of our morphing div's wrapper. And voila, our menu is now ready.